What about public lands?
Some believe more federal land should be turned over to states or private buyers, but there is little consensus on how, when, or if that should happen.
Regulations, they're being eliminated like nobody's ever seen before.
3.3 million acres of federal land.
Millions of acres of federal land to the state, which he says is in a better position to make decisions about it than the federal government.
There's never been anything like
The
it.
state can't afford the upkeep.
Egregious abuse of federal power.
One concern I have politically right now is the rollback of national park boundaries for the primary purpose of resource extraction. I mean, the reason that Scott Pruitt is rolling back these things is not so much people can come to visit. It's so that mining companies and gas companies can come in there and exploit those resources.
Our unspoiled physical environment is a significant element of so many Americans' lives, and it would be unfair to us and future generations, as well as to the environment itself, to accelerate the exploitation of natural resources across our country.
I think they are part of our heritage and our history, and they remind us of our past. They remind us of the great bounty of this country, and they teach us that to preserve is a worthwhile thing to do.
There's been a lot of talk about public lands with the Trump administration and the Republican Congress very quickly dismantling some Obama-era restrictions on public land use.
You think it's so important for public lands to stay public?
But we all use these lands to hunt, to fish, to camp, and it's a big part of teaching our kids our outdoor heritage.
The folks who advocate for this say it can be managed even better on an even more local level, that the state can do a better job than the federal government.
I think they're blowing smoke.
If the federal government put states in charge, opportunities would open up to sell the land for profit. This would shrink the overall area of protected land and also allow the unrestricted depletion of natural resources such as coal and timber, and could accelerate the construction of dams and infrastructure harmful to the ecosystem. There would be no way to stop this harm if the land is privately held by corporations rather than a government with protection in mind.
Although it's true nature can recover, it'll take thousands of years for nature to recover to a state that really is healthful. And I fully believe that humans can coexist with nature, but it really requires, and nature can be productive. Historically, nature gave us all that we needed. And when you look at rivers, this creek right here, that used to give us several 100,000 salmon per year, this creek could do that again, and we would all benefit by having several 100,000 salmon per year right in front of us right here. But to do that, we have to really think about how we develop. Not building houses right on the creek, not allowing businesses to allow their discharge to flow freely into landscapes, not allowing destruction of wetlands like you see in Texas, where all around the big city centers they allowed the wetlands to be filled in to build malls and houses, and then the consequence is that there's no system to absorb the water when the rains come, and the massive flooding is a consequence of that. So, the deregulating of how we expand has serious consequences for all of humanity and nature. So I do think that we should certainly minimize the exploitation of resources on lands, and especially if there are destructive processes like coal mining and natural gas wells, things like that. But I really feel like it's important, again, to try and find that balance.
The president is a New York City urban type of person. I'm not sure that he even appreciates the dusty, buggy, great outdoors. It might not be the place that he even wants to hang out. So I hope that the people can persuade the president to have a land policy that favors preservation.